Hey, Randy Joe here, and welcome to the first video in a series that I'm hoping many fans of the channel will be excited for, and that's going to be discovering Kate Bush's entire discography, starting from her debut, where I will be reacting to every single album. Because I did the Hounds of Love last month for my Art Pop April series, and I got a overwhelming amount of support on that video, both in terms of views and subscribers. Just a huge influx of people really coming in and giving me some support. Really loved it. They were really, happy with what I had to say about Hounds of Love, which is an album that I have continually gone back to time and time again since that first reaction. And I do think it is a near perfect album. If not, eventually I will look at it and say it is a perfect album. That being said, today we're gonna start from the beginning, from day one, from her debut, and that of course is her 1978 record, "The Kick Inside." Going into this, I did a little bit of research because I think I had some fans of Kate Bush tell me that I should do a little research going into each album just to get a little bit of an idea, and that is what I wanted to do anyway, so I'm glad people seem to think that is the way to go about it. And seeing as this is her debut, from what I gather, this album was heavily influenced in some ways by her dance teacher, specifically the song "Moving," which kicks things off. And a lot of this record really came to fruition because of connections she had to David Gilmour of Pink Floyd, who discovered her, I'm going to put in quotes, and had her have this opportunity essentially through the label, I believe it was EMI. This album also includes her debut single, "Wuthering Heights," which I believe would be inspired or based on the novel of the same name by one of the Bronte sisters. I think it was Charlotte Bronte. I cannot quite remember. A book that I've always wanted to read. I have it on my bookshelf waiting to be read, and knowing that the song is based on it certainly piques my interest quite a bit. That being said, let's just jump into it with "Moving," first track of her discography. Let's kick it off. I will keep the lyrics here. I will try to follow along with the lyrics. I will try to decipher what they mean and also follow along with the annotated lyrics if I need some clarification. But I will try to take it in primarily. This one is a tribute to her dance teacher. Already notice between this and Hounds of Love, her voice is certainly younger here. I believe Hounds of Love came out nearly 10 years later, so a bit of a difference in age. If I'm not mistaken, she was about 17 when this came out. I like the just beautiful backdrop and this repetition of soul. The way it kind of transcends over the instrumental. Really like knowing that this is a tribute to her dance teacher, really speaking on, I would say, the fluidity and the power of dance, letting it take you. She was really doing these beautiful backup vocals from day one, eh? Really good pacing on this track. 3 minutes felt rapid. Just it's well paced. Seems like it transitions into the saxophone song. I will attempt to speak on each song after they're done. And in doing so, I want to talk about the first track here, "Moving." Given the fact that I've heard Hounds of Love so many times, "Moving" feels very stripped back, especially since, it is her debut, kind of expected. But I like that. I like that nature to it because, Hounds of Love was such a expansive album. It's such a huge, broad undertaking, it feels like. And hearing something that feels a little bit more, I would say, traditional in a sense, is quite nice on the ears. It is a little bit easier to take in right away. And it makes me excited to see the growth in her discography and the growth of her as an artist, because that is really, I think, the most beautiful aspect when it comes to discovering an entire discography and going one by one. So Moving, beautiful track. Really, a nice elevated voice. I love the backup vocals that she provides. And I just like the pacing of the track too. 3 minutes, but it felt even quicker than that. I mean, 3 minutes isn't a long time, but I think it's just the way it is delivered and the way it is kind of produced sonically that the track does not, it hits you with a 1-2 punch and it closes things out. It's a beautiful track, and we're going to go on to the saxophone song, which I used to play the saxophone, not very well, but I tried. Maybe one day I'll get back to it. I'm excited because she always changes her style with every track typically. It really evolves quite broadly. Ooh. Certainly has a more 70s sound to this album too, which I like. A huge 70s music fan. Oh, there's the saxophone spiraling out of control, reminding me of David Bowie's work in the 70s. Maybe something off Hunky Dory. Hold on. Let's pause real quick. I just want to take a minute to note the fact that Kate Bush says this is one of her earliest compositions. She wrote it when she was about 15. And this song is about saxophones. And I guess just her love of them. Taking in the saxophone listener, it would seem, in this track. Has a nice country twang in the background too. Those guitars kind of feeling sorrow. Ooh. I'm loving the style of this track, really. I think just how just nice the production is. It kind of feels like a throwback in a way. The drumming is pretty nice too on this record. On this track specifically. Hold on. Oh. That kind of rapid synth kind of bouncing back and forth between the sides here. I really like that. Oh my goodness. That saxophone kind of in the background, buried. It's a long instrumental fade out. Really like that one. A good smoky atmosphere to that one. Has a nice country twang to it. That saxophone is quite skittery and frantic, kind of feeling like I said, a David Bowie infused track from the 70s. Kind of reminding me of, can't quite place it. I want to say the track, maybe the end of Andy Warhol. No, that's not it. It's one of the David Bowie early tracks from the 70s. Could be off something a lot insane. Could be off of Young Americans, perhaps. Not too sure. But it's giving David Bowie early 70s, definitely. Let's continue on with the next track here. Strange Phenomena. Sometimes she does this vocal inflection that feels more theatrical. Oh, it's like weird oscillating synth again. I'm liking that. Good atmosphere. I like this simple drum. And what is that? A really weird atmosphere. Has like a twisted sound to it, kind of feeling like a... Is that an organ? I don't know what that means. Amani Padme. A Buddhist mantra. I love this oscillating synth. Like I said, it's such a strong atmosphere to this track. And that bass line, very thick. Has a more easing listening approach to this record, obviously, than Hounds of Love, which I'm certainly enjoying. Oh, and the chanting here. Ooh, I like that ominous chanting from the Buddhist monks there at the end, which Om Mani Padme, from what I gather, translates to, from what I just read, Jewel in the Lotus, which could have multiple meanings. But it's kind of hard to decipher exactly what this track is about. Every girl knows about the punctual blues, but who knows the power behind our moves? Soon it will be the phase of the moon. Obviously, I think people could interpret this as a track about menstruation or going through your period, perhaps your first time. Pretty transformative time for a woman. And given the fact that this was an album written in her teen years, I would not be surprised if that's what the track is about. But I could also see it being about not just menstruation or, your period, but just growing up and maturing into a young adult. I think that could be another interpretation here. Let's just continue on. I do like that one quite a bit. It's kind of hard because these tracks feel very rapid. I mean, that one is only 2 minutes and 58 seconds. Hits you quick, hits you fast. But again, I just like the very 70s. I mean, it did come out in the 70s, so it makes sense. But I do like the very, I guess, simplification of Kate Bush on this album. And that's not to say that what she's doing here sonically or lyrically is simple. Obviously not. But what I'm saying is, going into this after hearing Hound of Love, I like just how dialed back this album feels so far. And it takes for an easier listening. I could see perhaps someone saying that this is a more, I guess, lighthearted and enjoyable listen, one that they might come back to more so than Hounds of Love, simply because it is one that you could put on and enjoy much easier in the background. Whereas Hounds of Love, I think, does deserve and demands some sense of, acknowledgement and attention as you listen to it. Let's go into Kite. Interesting start. Oh my goodness, it is much more upbeat. Got a bit of a kick to it. That weird rattle on the right there. Oh, this one is stylistically so different. There's a really magical feeling to this track. And playful, very playful, feeling almost like fantastical. Doing a quick over the lines, is it perhaps about metaphorical, exploring a freedom, flying away with this kite, or maybe it is quite literal, and that leads into the fantastical elements of the track. I love the homeland dome. I got no limbs. I'm like a weather in the wind. I'm not sure I want to be up here at all. Could be about discovering oneself and taking on a sense of freedom as well. Also kind of remind me of Brian Eno, but I think that's just the sort of absurdist nature. Man, the arrangement of this track, so much layering, and so many instruments that seem to kind of sink into one another like puzzle pieces. Wow. Another pretty great track. I really enjoyed the upbeat nature of it, but I could see that one being some people's weakest because it is a little bit of a left turn. The Man with the Child in His Eye. Let's continue. 29.5 million streams here. Bringing things back down. Maybe a love track here. I like the piano work on here too. Oh, the way it just shimmers across your mind. This one's got a nice touching instrumental and vocal delivery. There's such an awe, a sense of awe in this track. Again, a very theatrical background there, kind of feeling like we're in some sort of cinematic show or something here. Oh, there's like a sense of doubt in the love here. That was quite, again, so beautiful and such a change again from that last track. A sense of awe more than anything in her voice there. She's really just, fawning over this man that she clearly loves so dearly. And maybe there's a doubt she thinks she'll be abandoned by him. I really like that one, though. I really love the piano work, especially on that one. I thought it was quite strong, very shimmery, and very delicate at the same time, just like the rest of the track. And about that one, let's just check into it. Bush wrote that song when she was 13 years old. 13. And recorded at 16 under Dave Gilmour's guidance. How? Tells the relationship between a young girl and an older man. She sees him an all-consuming figure. He's wise, yet retains a certain innocent quality. A little bit of a, maybe groomer story there. I don't like that. But still, a tale that is very much reminiscent of realities. A lot of older men preying on young girls, unfortunately. And they do have that innocent-like quality that I think causes that attraction in the first place. Before we jump into Wuthering Heights, I just want to check the background here. It is based on, not Charlotte, I was wrong, Emily Bronte, her only novel of Wuthering Heights. And I believe this is a kind of direct adaptation, in a sense, of the novel. And it does reference characters such as Kathy and Heathcliff from the novels. Characters that even though I've never read the book, I am familiar with them because they are such literary characters that are so classic and intertwined now, I feel like, into culture, especially in literature circles. It is pretty, well known, these characters. But let's just jump into it. This might spoil the book for me, but that's okay. That's on me for not reading it first. Maybe I'll read it after hearing this. This was the lead single, from what I gather, and 192 million streams, and was a breakout for her, and from what I heard was a pretty unconventional track to release for a debut single. But let's check it out. Let's get into it. I'm excited. Really hope it hits hard. I believe this is the character here, Kathy, falling for Heathcliff. Oh, I love that kind of deep hatred there in the way she says hated, and then the elevated love in her vocals. Seems as Heathcliff is kind of denying her the love that she needs. I know she has a sense of servitude in the novel to him. And Wuthering Heights, I believe, is the location, of course, too. Oh. Hold on. This chorus is very explosive and emotive. She really nails that sense of desperation in the character here. Ooh. I really love that. What a gentle, shimmery effect that was before we clash back into things. This is a great track and a great single. Ooh, that guitar work too. Kind of sneaking in here. So electrifying. Who do we have on the guitar here? Do we know? I could be wrong, but I'm gonna assume the guitarist here is Ian Berenson. Could also be Paul Keogh, if I'm pronouncing that right. What a beautiful swelling track that nails the, you know, yearning of Kathy, it would seem here. A very bold track as well to release as her debut single. I could definitely see that being one that would scratch heads of label executives who want to push a more traditional song. Even something like Moving or The Man with the Child in His Eyes would seem, I think, a little bit more, I guess, regular at the time to release. Wuthering Heights, though, requires you to be familiar to some extent of the original material, as well as, you know, being able to get accustomed to the, I guess, somewhat out there nature of the track, at least for the time. Not that, you know, unconventional tracks didn't exist back then. For an up-and-coming artist such as herself, it was a bold choice and respectable, especially for her age. James and the Cold Gun. Let's continue. Wuthering Heights was a fantastic track. So far, this has been a beautiful album to take in. Heavier start. Again, having a bit more of a blues overtone to it. This bass line, too, playing over top is very large, kind of thick sound to it. And you hear it. Oh, I thought it was going to descend. No descent. I really like the organ that's been featured through this album, too. Always playing in the background. The biggest comparison I'm getting throughout this LP so far is it's reminded me a lot of David Bowie. I wonder how much of an influence he must have had on her. Oh, this guitar. It's very bold, very hungry sounding. It's the little things like that backup vocal there, where you can hear her kind of saying nonsense in the right regimen, but it adds a lot of depth. Oh, where are we going here? Gentle organ in the background shimmering. We come down. Oh. Kind of a proggy element to this track, and some of the album as well, but it's jumping out here. Only thing missing is the long, grand tracks of prog. But man, certainly in its instrumentals and the execution of some of these instruments and the way they transition from one another, feels quite proggy. I like that one a lot. Had a nice blues finish to it, and I think speaking on crime, maybe a man giving himself to the life of crime, perhaps. But let's continue with Feel It. There's that piano taking center stage on this track so far. Man, here she is singing high again. I really love the way she explores her vocals by taking on different sort of pitches and almost like characters in a way, because she sings in inflections. And it's not always just her accent either. Getting quite sexual here. Oh boy, here we go. Now this is bold to do on a debut, I would say, for an up-and-coming artist at the time. Here she is giving herself to this lover. Good pacing on this track as well. We're a minute and a half in, halfway through the track. Very vulnerable this track is. This is probably one of her most, I would say, straightforward tracks lyrically that I've heard so far. Not much to, I guess, decipher here. It seems like it is about giving herself to this man or woman. The sex is never quite defined here. But I'm not sure Kate Bush rolls that way. But I gotta say, Feel It, I like that one. I just love the delicate nature of that one. I really like how diverse this album has been so far, while still feeling very 70s. Makes it easy to take in. And I thought that track, too, with its very straightforward lyricism, shows that Kate Bush isn't always trying to do something, you know, super broad when it comes to her lyrics. She sometimes just tells it as it is, which I like. Oh, to Be in Love. Remember this track. A lot of love tracks on this album. Ooh. I like this acoustic coming in. Didn't expect it. Man. Very warm guitar on this one. Very warm bass. Like a warm embrace around us here. I'm sorry. What is this? It's got a nice groove to it. I like that backup vocal. They are very, very rich, that backup vocal. Oh, now we got horns coming here. I really like this track. Again, there's a certain delicate simplicity to this album so far, but yet still very diverse like this track is. So many arrangements, so many instruments coming together. Reminding me of, sorry to keep saying it, but it reminded me of David Bowie's album this time, Diamond Dogs, for some reason, especially the back end of that album. A really beautiful track overall. Just flirts there too with almost like a Greek inspired sound or something. That's what I'm getting there. I really like that one too. Just like I said throughout it, it's super catchy, it's fun, it's infectious, and again, it's simple with the way it plays with things. More so in the fact that it's very diverse is what I like about it. L'amour looks something like you is the name of this track. What is this, the Phantom of the Opera? Nice, like, chill, kind of laid back, gentle drum work. Really strong choruses. I just feel, again, traditional, but there's certainly like that overwhelming sense of talent in them. Let's go into the next track there. I like that one. Like I said, similar to the last track, lighthearted, easy to take in, but given its shorter nature, it does have that drawback. I wish it was a little bit more expansive in a way. My only gripe with that one. Next, we're going to go into Them Heavy People. Seems the streams taper off, but I'm going to assume that's just people who stop listening to the album as it plays, which is a common thing when it comes to streaming. Again, a very upbeat nature to this album. A little funky sound to it. Oh, that's a nice, cute lag. Everyone has a heaven inside. I really like the kind of summery, groovy tone to that guitar work in the background. I'm not sure who Gurdjieff is. Maybe I need to touch up on my religion. I like that. Is it going to happen again? I like that kind of double up sound it there. Maybe I'm crazy, but this has like a kind of summery feel to it. Maybe that's the religious aspect. I like that one too. This whole second half is taking on a much more upbeat nature. It's certainly a turn I did not expect, but even the album as a whole certainly feels, again, very upbeat in comparison to Hounds of Love. Room for the Life, continuing here. Is Kate Bush religious? Not too sure. I'll have to look into it, but not personally a huge religious guy myself, but I do consider myself to be fascinated and interested in religion, and I do think it is a very important, way of life and concept that certainly I think matters to people, and I think it's something that we should not shy away from. I know there's a lot of people out there who thinks religion should be, abolished or something like that. I myself do not believe that. I am not an atheist or anything like that either. I am not just a devoted, Christian or anything like that either. I am what I would consider a spiritual person. So if you're somebody who is interested in me as a person, there's a little tidbit about me. Again, not a hater of religion. I actually admire religion a lot, and it is something I want to delve into much deeper, but more as a informative side. I think it is important to just be knowledgeable about different religions worldwide. But here's go for Room for the Life is this track here. Is this about women feeling like they're competing with men in society? It would seem. Ooh. Remind me of Queen there with that guitar there in the background. They use that same effect. Oh. I like those. It sounds like bongos of some sort. I really like the beauty of the track here. The beauty of birth. Childbirth. I love the strength here. Very high morale sort of delivery she's giving. There's kind of like a world music element to this, because it takes in, I would say, other sounds and cultures, sort of instrumentation. Like if I heard this instrumental, I would not think it's a woman from the UK, that's for sure. I really like that one. Beautiful. Very, what I thought was a feminist track in a way. However, towards the end I checked out a little annotation here. Kate Bush said, Room for Life has been mistaken for a feminist song while it's actually a plea to go a bit easier on men. That's not how I interpret it. Am I missing something here? Either way, not sure why this guy is giving out his Gmail in the comments, and it seems his phone number as well. A little strange, but let's carry on. I like that one a lot. I like the uplifting nature of it. Despite the fact that she says it's not a feminist song, it does feel like a feminist song. It's very uplifting and focused on the beauty of a woman. I guess maybe trying not to say that women are inferior to women in the track. Maybe she's trying to say go easier on men because, we're just as important. And I don't know what the overall goal is if it's not a feminist track, but it felt like one. Here is the final track here, the kick inside, which I feel like I need to know a little bit of the backstory if this is the title track here. According to this, it's about a brother and a sister who fall desperately in love with each other. But I won't go further because I don't want to destroy the story too much here. I saw a little bit of that next line there. Let's just take it in. The kick inside, about a brother and sister who fall in love with each other. A little taboo. Very taboo. The kick inside, I'm assuming, has to do with a pregnancy. Yeah, she's pregnant, it would seem, in this track. Oh, so she's been impregnated by her brother. Very taboo. Now this is a bold track to write. Because incest, in any time, has always been a taboo. And she's offering a sympathetic side to it here. I want to comment on her writing, I'll say, for after the album. But it's something that I find interesting as an artist. There's a sorrow here. Obviously does not want to leave her brother. I like the strings on this track too. They mirror that kind of pained feeling. It's got a sympathy in the strings itself. Still has a strong admiration and love for her brother. It would seem this sister here. Okay. A soft, melancholic, sorrowful finish. And I want to speak on her writing. Like I said earlier, I wanted to talk about that, but I wanted to save it for the track to finish. And that is that despite the track being very much a taboo, in, I would say, any time period, in any time of musical history, it's not exactly taboo when it comes to literature and just classic literature, modern day literature, anything like that. Incest has been literally since, like this track kind of mentions, Greek mythology. It's such a classic kind of trope, but it's not something that you see in music. And I think that's what I like about Kate Bush, is that from what I gather, she approaches music from a very kind of literature side, very literature heavy side. Obviously, Wuthering Heights suggests that as well. And I like that because most artists speak from their own experiences quite strongly. Most musicians try to keep things, I guess, within the realm of what music is. And from a subject standpoint, they don't tend to try to go too taboo unless it's about, something sexual or something, that is, maybe a sense of violence. But when it comes to stuff like this, where it's a very strong subject matter of incest and a trope that is very, I would say, I guess, grotesque to most, music tends to shy away from it because it does not have the mainstream appeal, whereas literature does still, weave it in quite strongly into a lot of classic books and a lot of modern day books. It's not something that is shied away from, and that's because I think you can delve into it a lot more in a book, whereas in music you have to be a bit more careful, considering you can only do things usually on a surface level. But that's not true for great artists, and Kate Bush is a great artist, and I would say this track really exploring the taboo of incest from a sympathetic standpoint is really showing that she is a very thoughtful and very clever writer at the end of the day. Like, she's not just a musician, she is certainly one that understands how to write good prose, and could, if she wasn't a musician, could have been perhaps a author of some sort, unless she's already written some books. Again, I'm unfamiliar with her entire career, but that's just what I'm gathering from this track specifically, and from obviously the track Wuthering Heights, I think, suggests it as well. But her music in general is very emotive and does remind me of some great authors, and I think that is what I admire quite a bit about Kate Bush as a musician. Very few musicians are able to pull that off effectively. Only the greats tend to do it. David Bowie, Lou Reed kind of come to mind as similar musicians who have attempted to do that kind of same sort of thing. And I just think it is really beautiful. As for the album as a whole, The Kick Inside, her debut, I really liked just the upbeat nature of a lot of the tracks here. I thought the more simplistic sort of delivery of the arrangements and the sort of performances do make for a more, I would say, enjoyable experience when compared to Hounds of Love, simply because that's the only album I can compare to, since that's the only one I've heard. But Hounds of Love is so expansive and massive and a grand undertaking for any artist to do, whereas The Kick Inside does have a more traditional sense to it, and I think it makes it, again, like I said, easier to take in, but does not necessarily make it a better album, as Hounds of Love is pretty much, like I said, a perfect album, just one that you have to be more in the mood for, whereas The Kick Inside I could see throwing on in the background more often. But a great album overall. Great album. Loved it, and I'm excited to check out her next album. If you like this video, if you're a Kate Bush fan, like many of the people who have subscribed to me as of late are, then I want to say thank you for watching. Hit like, subscribe if you aren't subscribed already. I plan to do her entire discography. We are doing one album for Kate Bush every month, and I plan to get one out every month between the 20th to the 25th. So wait for those 5 days of every month. You can expect a Kate Bush video here on this channel, and then maybe after I'm done all of them, just maybe, I'll do a full ranking / tier list video where I'll go deeper into her discography and talk about it. Maybe a live stream if there's enough people interested in something like that. I'm not sure. But yeah, The Kick Inside, great album. Thank you for watching. As always, my name is Randy Joe, and I'm signing off.